Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Nitish Kumar Upadhyay. Today we will be discussing about National Human Rights Commission. As we know, for protection of people from violation of their human rights, National Human Rights Commission is being made. It's a quasi-judicial recommendatory body. We'll discuss in detail what we mean by quasi-judicial and recommendatory body. The prerequisites is that we want to learn about Human Rights Act 1993, Constitution of NHRC, and powers of NHRC. The main objectives to learn about power and functions of National Human Rights Commission, to learn about role of NHRC in protection of human rights in India. Introduction. National Human Rights Commission of India is a statutory public body constituted on 12th October 1993. It was given a statutory basis by the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. The NHRC is the National Human Rights Commission of India, responsible for the protection and promotion of human rights. Constitution of NHRC, which all people will make NHRC. So NHRC will have a chairperson who has been a Chief Justice of a Supreme Court of India. So the first member, senior official, is a chairperson, Chief Justice of Supreme Court. One member who is or has been a judge of Supreme Court of India. One member who is or has been the Chief Justice of High Court. Two members to be appointed from among persons having knowledge or practical experience in matters relating to human rights. So these are two members who are experts in field of human rights will also be constituting the NHRC. The chairperson of National Commission of Minorities, the National Commission of Scheduled Caste, the National Commission of Scheduled Tribe, the National Commission of Women shall be deemed to be the members of the Commission for discharge of function specified in Clause B and 2 Clause J of Section 12 of Human Rights Act 1993. There shall be a Secretary General who shall be Chief Executive Officer of the Commission and shall exercise such powers and discharge some functions as may prescribed. What are the important powers of NHRC? So the Commission shall will inquire into complaint under this Act, have all powers of a civil court, trying a suit under the Code of Civil Procedure 1908, and in particular in respect of the following matter, namely, summoning and enforcing the attendance of witnesses and examining them on oath, discovery and production of any documents related to its functions, receiving evidence on affidavits, requesting any public record or any copy thereof from any court or office, issuing commissions for the examination of witness or documents. So basically, the most important part is that NHRC is having a power of civil court, which means that it does not have a power of criminal court. It cannot punish anyone. It cannot put anybody behind bars for violation of human rights of any person or any group of person. So basically, what it can do, it has a civil powers. It can give decrees. It can give orders of civil in nature. Also, this body is a recommendatory body. Its basic job is to give recommendation to central and state governments in cases of human rights violations. So whenever there is a human rights violation, a recommendation, NHRC will investigate the matter and will submit a recommendation. Recommendation may include that the people whose human rights have been violated should be given certain compensation. Recommendation may also require that there should be some change in the present laws if the laws are violating human rights. Recommendation may also require that a public duty to be performed by a particular public servant. So basically, this is called recommendatory body because its basic power is to give recommendation. It cannot punish anyone. It does not have a jail as such. It has a human rights code stabilized under NHRC. National Human Rights Commission has a human rights code too. What are the important functions of NHRC? The Commission shall perform all or any of the following functions, namely, inquire suo motu on the petition presented to it by victim or any person on his behalf or on direction of order of any court, into complaint of violation of any human rights and abatement of violations of any human right, negligence in prevention of such violations by any public servant. So if there is any human rights violation taking place at any place or against any person, and there is a job of public servant to stop such human rights violation, then the basic job of commission is to also figure it out the negligence in prevention of such violence by the public servant. The next point, the next function is intervene in any proceeding involving any allegation of violation of human rights pending before a court with the approval of such court. So if any matter is pending before a court which involves an important question of human rights and human rights violation, then Human Rights Commission, after approval of court, can actually involve in that particular case. If the case is pending, if the case is decided, it cannot intervene at that particular time. So in during when the case is under process is pending, then Human Rights Commission can seek approval of the such court and can intervene in such matters because of their expertise in field of human rights. Visit any jail or any other institution under control of the state government where persons are detained or lodged for purpose of treatment, reformation or protection, for the study of living condition of the inmates thereof, and make recommendation thereon to the government. So what they can do is they can visit jails, they can find out what conditions the under trials or the prisoners are staying, whether it requires any change. They can also visit any Sudhar Grah, any reformation home. They can also visit any protection homes created by state government, and they can give their recommendation for improvement of standards of such protection homes, jails, or any other place where inmates are being kept. So this is one of the very important functions that NHRC performs. So NHRC keeps a record and gives recommendation for infrastructure, for the policies in jails that are being created for inmates. And its recommendation are submitted to the government. The next function is review the safeguard provided by or under the Constitution or any law for the time being in force for the protection of human rights and recommend measures for their effective implementation. So it can actually review any law or any constitutional provisions which, if come into force, if it's already in force, is violating, or if there is important pertinent question related to human right that is involved in such act, then NHRC can review such act, such constitutional provisions, and can recommend measures for their effective implementation, can recommend measures by which human rights will not be violated further. For protection of human rights, they can recommend to any new law that is coming up or any constitutional provision that is there or any constitutional provision that is there because of any new amendment. So they can recommend for effective implementation of laws in which there is a concern of human rights involved. So this is also one of the very important function of National Human Rights Commission. The next, review the factors including acts of terrorism that inhibit the enjoyment of human rights and recommend appropriate remedial measures. It can actually take care of all such factors where enjoyment of human rights are being questioned, are under a scrutiny, is under a problem, and can recommend appropriate remedial measures for such acts. It can study treaties and other international instruments on human rights and make a recommendation for their effective implementation. Because as our Indian constitution also says, that if there is any international treaty or international instrument we are signing, our national laws should try to abide by such international commitments that we have. So what is the basic function that NHRC is doing? NHRC is trying to review, is trying to study any new treaty or other international instruments or conventions on human rights that are making any effect on Indian situation of human rights, and they can give recommendation for effective implementation of such international human rights into the national legislation. So they will try to make that international law should be in consonance with the domestic law. International human rights standards should be in consonance with the domestic human rights standards. So their basic function is to keep the standard of domestic human rights to the extent of international human rights standards if we are signing any treaty or any international document. The next function is to undertake and promote research in field of human rights. They're time and again, they have human rights research projects, which is done by different universities and also done by various known jurists and academicians on different human rights aspect related to trafficking, related to domestic violence, related to all other matters related to female feticide, infanticide, and etc. So there are also promoting research in field of human rights, spread human rights literacy among various sections of society, and promote awareness of the safeguard available for protection of these rights through publication, media, seminars, and other available means. So it's one of the other very important function is to promote human rights literacy, promotes understanding of human rights in the society by different events, by publications, by media, by seminars, and by also internships. So it is also training the young generation through its summer internship program and winter internship program, where they will understand the situation of human rights of India, and they can work in future for protecting people against such human rights violation. So there are NHRC basic job is also to protect and promote human rights, promote literacy related to human rights. The next function is encourage the efforts of non-governmental organization and institution working in the field of human rights. So National Human Rights Commission also keeps various kinds of legal advisors, various kind of people to advise in matters of human rights, and they also encourage efforts and work done by non-governmental organization, and sometimes the main key person behind these non-governmental organization is also working on panel with National Human Rights Commission to protect and to understand various situations related to human rights and human rights violation. So now we are discussing some of the cases where this National Human Rights Commission have sent notices. So basically, National Human Rights Commission has identified a problem and written down a notice and send a notice to a particular person, government official. So the first case is Chief Secretary Haryana on the killing of couple Manoj and Babli in Kaithal district of state of Haryana. The commission also asked Haryana police to provide adequate protection to the family members of the victims. The next is Chief Secretary and DGP was sent notice by National Human Rights Commission on the incident in Dhanidhya village of Saraswati district where hundreds of people reportedly attacked and beat up Muslims. The attackers allegedly gang raped the women and even paraded them naked, which is extreme brutality and which is a violation of human rights. The news report also said that no FIR was registered in the incident, which is showing a clear violation of basic uh, right of natural justice. The commission also decided to send an investigation team to find out what happened in this present case, who all are offenders, what was the role of the police, and why they have not filed an FIR. So they have sent an investigation team, and the investigation team will figure out what needs to be done in case what they have been missing out by the officials. And then final recommendation can be given after this investigation team has completed their investigation. The next case, Chief Secretary Karnataka on a report which said that at least 80,863 children were out of a school in state, and out of which at least 60,516 in the age group of 7 to 14 were dropouts, where 20,347 had never been to school. So this notice was given in terms of right to education of children in India. We have right to education as fundamental right under Article 21A. We also have right to education as fundamental duty, which says that parents are under duty to send their wards for education. We have various policies for right to education, but still, if this is the scenario and 80,000 around students are out of school, then a chief secretary Karnataka should have been summoned, should have been sent a notice to tell us why the standards of education are not being met. So a notice was sent to Chief Secretary Karnataka asking these things, why the dropout rate is high and why there are so many people who drop out at young age between 7 to 14 years. The next case, the Superintendent of Police Gurgaon on a report which said that a 9-year-old boy was thrashed by Gurgaon fireman. The report also said the child was mentally challenged. So sometimes NHRC sent these notices. And one of the very important power that I want to discuss now of NHRC is suo motu cognizance. Even if nobody is filing a case for human rights violation, even if nobody is saying that there is a human rights violation in this particular case, NHRC can suo motu take cognizance if they think that there is a violation or there is a breach of human rights of people or a class of people. NHRC have done so in past in case of Bhatta Parsol, where there was a open fire by police on villagers who were demanding increase in the land rates. There have been various times NHRC have taken suo motu cognizance for human rights violation. One such case is where in Karnataka, a old tradition where a child, infant child, less than 1 year age, will be put inside the ground for around 30 to 40 seconds as a ritual. So the court said, the commission said that this should not be done, and the recommendation was given that this practice should not be practiced anymore. So one of the most important power here with NHRC is the power of suo motu cognizance. So thereby their own judges, after reading newspaper, after coming through news or by any other means, if they come to know that there is a serious violation of human rights taking place at any place or with any person or any set of person, they can take a suo motu cognizance in that particular case. So with this, we will now summarize NHRC, National Human Rights Commission, basically performs the job of protection of human rights. It has a power of civil court. It is a recommendatory body, so its basic job is to recommend. It also have an investigation unit which have police officers and IS officers involved for purpose of investigation. And it's one of the basic job is to also promote and disseminate knowledge related to human rights and human rights violation through publication, through media, through other channels, and through training programs. So this is what is the most important part that NHRC plays in our legal system. NHRC is also at the domestic level is there to protect human rights, also with state human rights commission at different states. Thank you very much.